Hi Pisces, welcome to Yellow Card No Tarot with me. My name is Carole and this is going to be a general reading for you for January 2026. I had a difficult time trying to figure out what I was going to do for the readings this month. And I had something in mind. And just yesterday there was a windstorm here and literally felt like the front part of my house, it felt like there was something ripping off of it. And even my cat was like really scared, and I was too scared to go out and look at it. I think it was more I didn't want to know. My biggest fear is that, when there's a lot of windstorms where I am, I'm in Eastern Canada. And so there's a lot of windstorms, and whenever they happen, I'm always scared that, something's going to happen to my house. So I kind of forgot about it. And this morning I woke up, I had a plan. I knew I was going to do my readings today. I looked out the bathroom window and I saw something in the corner of my yard that looked like this. And I went, oh my God, is that a piece of my house? And I thought, no, it's just snow. Maybe it's my neighbor's. I looked at my neighbor's house and he has black trim on his house. I'm like, okay, it's not his house. And then I decided, okay, I think I looked at so many times out that window and I just finally went, I got to get my rattles out because I am a shamanic practitioner. As I said, I've said that on my channel before. And so in shamanism, we believe that everything is alive. And so I can rattle and ask this piece of fascia that ripped off my house, why did you leave my house? And I know this sounds ridiculous to people, but there's a truth to it, right? Like there's nothing that happened that is random in my life. And so that's how I function. And so I knew that this meant something. And so I was rattling and I asked it, I said, what are you doing here? And it said, I couldn't stay here anymore. And so, or I couldn't stay there anymore, because it's fascinating because it came off the front of my house and it went way at the back of my property and it landed somewhere where I could see it. And so it was meant for me to see it. And I don't know if I would have ever noticed that, if I ever would have remembered to look at my house, that there was something ripped off of it. And so I couldn't stay there anymore. And so I thought, that's my reading for today. I knew it was meant for me, and it was telling me that I knew I was moving on to something in my own life. But I thought, okay, for my readers, for my signs, I thought, okay, this is a reading. And I thought, what situation have you been in for too long where you can't stay anymore? And that's what I'm going to look at for you in this reading. And then I'm going to look at what's blocking you from moving on. And whatever it is that's blocking you is something that you need to heal. It'll be from your childhood, when you're young, when you're in adolescence, or something that happened to you. And we're going to look at that, and you need some healing around that in order for you to move from the situation that you've been in for too long. And then we're going to look at what advice does the tarot have for you. And I'm going to pick a spirit animal for you at the end. And but the advice the tarot has, before I forget, is usually going to help you with giving you some advice as how to move on from this, right? So I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm not going to say, okay, you need to heal this. But I'm going to give you some advice. The tarot is going to give you some advice as to how you can start to heal it. So the spirit animal that I give you, it's interesting because in shamanism, we work with power animals, and these are the power animals. They're spirits, and they've been with us for, some of them have been with us. They can come and go, but there is one that you, oftentimes is one that you have had since birth. And so pay attention to the spirit animal that I'm going to give you today. Maybe it's something that means something to you if you look up this animal, and you can start off by looking at, okay, what sort of characteristics does it have? What traits does it have? And because this will give you something today that relates to this reading. But you can, if you like, get a healing, or you can actually just get you can ask a shamanic practitioner to do a healing for you where it can retrieve a power animal for you. And it's an animal that you can actually go to for direction in your life. And so if you're interested in a healing from me, you can get that done. There is a link in my description box for that. And you know, it usually starts off with, when I have a new client, it'll start off with a 15-minute consultation. And that 15-minute consultation is a chance for you to talk to me about what you want done, or what sort of healing you're looking at. And to be honest with you, if you don't ever want to have to, if you decide you don't want to do the healing after the 15-minute consultation, there's no pressure whatsoever. And the consultation is free as well. So, I mean, just that alone is powerful, because you can just, decide whether or not you want to work with me. And sometimes we can sign up for, and I know we can have therapists that we sign up to work with, and we feel like we get stuck with them. There's that whole guilt thing when you want to leave them sometimes, but not in this situation. There's no pressure whatsoever if you're thinking about doing something like that. So let's get on to your reading. I want to know, Pisces, what situation have you been in for too long? So let's have one card for that. We have the Four of Wands. That is sitting sideways for you. And what's blocking you from moving on, right? Is there something that you need to heal from childhood? What is blocking this situation here? One card for that. With the Nine of Swords. And what advice does the tarot have for you? One card for that. What advice do you have for Pisces? Page of Wands. Page of Wands came up in our last reading for Sagittarius, but it was the first card that came out. Very important card, that little page. Okay, so I have these three. I'm going to clarify them in a minute. But I want to pick your spirit animal right now, and I'll tell you what it is at the end of the reading. It'll be a surprise. All right. Okay. So let's begin your reading. What situation have you been in for too long? We start off with the Four of Wands, and I'll clarify it in a minute. But the Four of Wands, and it's sideways, so it's almost like you're not really sure. So you've been sitting in a situation where, I'm not really sure here about, and the Wands is about your purpose. It's about your direction, your next step that you need to go in. And so, and Four of Wands has often been called, I think, like a celebration card, right? And you can see all the confetti in this picture. And to me, it's like you have had a plan for something. You have something all planned out. And then the Four of Wands speaks about actually doing that plan. And it's like you've walked away now from, oftentimes I always say there's these walls behind. In the Rider-Waite deck, it talks about these walls that you've walked away from. Maybe you've walked away from something or someone. Maybe you're thinking of doing that, but you're really on eggshells here. You're not really sure whether or not this is the right decision. Maybe you've done it already. Maybe you've walked away. Maybe you've left something behind. And it was a situation that you've been in for too long, but you really are second guessing yourself. That's the word I was looking for. It was like expression I was looking for. And you're not ready to celebrate yet. It's like, you're not yet. Like you don't feel like 100% confident that this was the right move for you. And it could have been, maybe you've put in a resignation. Maybe you've decided you're not going to do this job anymore. Maybe you've left You've left a relationship, whatever that may be. Could be a friend, it could be an intimate partner, but you've now starting to second guess yourself. It's like, oh my God, now I have cold feet, now I'm scared, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And so let's get some more clarity on that. Because you're not feeling like you can quite confident about this. That you can celebrate what, you've been wanting to do for so long. Well, that's interesting. The Nine of Swords comes out here. But you have the Nine of Swords sitting right here as what's blocking you. And it's right here that you're sitting with. So you have the Nine of Swords and the World card. There is, I'm going to say, when the Nine of Swords comes up in my deck, it often, excuse me, I'm clearing my throat here. Sorry, that happens when I read sometimes. This individual's waking up in the middle of the night, and they're like, they've just maybe had a nightmare, or they've had a dream of something, or they've remembered something. They've had a flashback maybe. Maybe that's happened to you. Maybe you're sitting with that you just had this dream around this. Or like I said, something flashing back, something from childhood, a flashback, a memory that usually, it's like a memory surfacing here about around what you've just decided to do with changing this situation that you're in. And there's something here. Maybe, sometimes we can feel real guilt around what we've done. If it's something we've done for ourselves. And maybe this memory's coming up of why you shouldn't have done that. Sometimes that can happen. Because in reverse, you have the, in reverse. And the next card that comes up is the World card in reverse. And the World card speaks about closure. But it's in reverse, so there is no closure for you. And I think that's what I was saying, where you're wanting closure. Like, obviously you want closure on this because you're not feeling confident enough that, maybe you were right on the edge of doing something and you just, like I said, you got cold feet or you've done it and you're feeling really guilty about it. Whatever it is. But there's a memory here. There's something here. When we do something and we feel, or when we're about to do something, we're just on the verge of it and we feel really guilty, or we just get really scared, or there's fear that comes up in our system, or full of anxiety, well, then there's something around that. There is a memory around that we need to get to. We need to heal that. And then so you're going to get more clarity around that, because what's coming up, what's blocking this is the memory. You need to get to the memory. It's the Nine of Swords, right? Look at this person. They're holding their head. And, they don't want to look at that. Look at how this, do you see all the clouds up there? It's almost like there's this, you've dissociated from this when you were younger, which means you've blocked this out. But it's sitting right here, and it's saying you need to get to this memory. And why do you need to get to this memory? Well, because there's big emotions around that. And you need to heal that. So you can release those emotions. You need to feel those emotions so that you're going to feel confident in what you need to do or what you've done. And you're going to know, okay, now I know I've done the right thing. But it's like you need to bring closure to this. And the only way that you're going to bring closure to this is to get to the actual memory. And the part that's the hardest, it's not finding out what the memory is or knowing the memory. It's it's how we block it. We can spend so much time pushing it down, denying it, and blocking it. And that's what causes all the pain in our system, is that blocking. Because once we get to it, it's like, oh, and then we get to the emotions of it. But it's the part that blocks it. And so what do you need to tell me about this memory? Give me some more clarity about the memory. Well, you get the Queen of Wands. And one more card. Queen of Wands is an interesting card to get around the memory. And then you get the Ten of Pentacles. Oh, in reverse. Okay, so what about this memory? Well, you get the Queen of Wands. And the Queen of Wands, I mean, look at her. I love her. She's got her black cat with her. Very wise. The queen in my deck is the feminine side to us. We all have a feminine and masculine side. Has nothing to do with our gender, right? We try to bring these parts into balance in our life. And she has this wand right here. And the wand that we talked about, you know, the wand over here, it's interesting that you have the Four of Wands. So this is about wands. This is about, and then you got the Page of Wands over here. So I need to get clear on what wands are. Wand is about your purpose. So your next step, where you're meant to go, the direction you're supposed to go in. And it's no coincidence that I'm calling this reading, you know, I couldn't stay there anymore, about this fascia that said I want it off that roof. And so God, you're meant to go in some new direction here, like I said, or you've done it and you're second guessing it. But the Queen is our feminine side, and she talks about that. And so again, there's this memory around direction. There's this memory around where you were supposed to go when you were younger, or what you wanted to do when you were younger, maybe. And then you have the Ten of Pentacles in reverse, which is fascinating because the Ten of Pentacles speaks about, now this deck is interesting, the Ehrenberg Tarot, because it takes a snapshot of the Rider-Waite deck. And so this particular shot of it has this old man at the front. And he seems to be holding on to, looks like an animal of some sort. Maybe you had a dog when you were younger. I don't know. Maybe you had an animal. But the Ten of Pentacles talks about, it's a card that shows often different generations. And this is the older man at the front that they're showing here. It's a card about lineage, first of all. And so when the Ten of Pentacles shows up for me, it's always a card that focuses on ancestral lineage. What did you inherit? And in particular, it focuses on trauma that has been, I mean, we all have shame that's been given to us. We all have trauma on a continuum. And so we can have that handed down to us. And so there's something traumatic that happened to you when you were younger that it's a memory, and it's linked to maybe trauma that the people that raised you, whoever they were, had themselves. And this is trauma that's been given to you, but it's something to do with your direction. And I want to say that, I'm going to give you an example of what this can mean. So let's say you've been working at this job that you've been doing all your life. And it's a job that's been in your family. And it's kind of like a job that was handed down to you. But you've got to a certain point in your life where it's like, this is not what I wanted to do when I was younger. This is not what I want to do now. And I know there's got to be something else for me. And so maybe you've decided, I want to do something else. Because this is something that's, could be something that's been handed down to you. And so you're deciding, I want to do something else. But there's something here that's coming up that's saying, you're not allowed to do this, right? You're not allowed to leave your family. I once asked somebody, actually my neighbor, and I said, he does a certain job, and I said, do you like doing that? And he goes, no, I hate it. I said, well, why don't you do something else? And he makes good money. And he goes, well, I'd be letting too many people down. I'm like, but you hate this job. But it's hard, right? When you're connected to something. And so maybe it could be, if it's related to a job and you've decided, I want to leave the family business, or I want to do something else. And it's like, there's just so much that's coming up here that's related around this direction, and that's why you're second guessing yourself and you're hearing all these messages in your head. But there's some real trauma. There's some, almost like this Ten of Pentacles can mean that maybe it's not trauma, but it's just, it could be, but maybe it's just, it's like you were told. It was like conditioning, if you want, that this is what you're supposed to do. And so let's look at some advice from the tarot and how you can heal this so that you can get more clarity around this. Well, the first thing it says, well, here's the Page of Wands here. And Page of Wands always has a little salamander. And I forget what the salamander, I got to look that up, but I forget what it refers to, what it represents, because I think it means something for you. But on this Page of Wands holding a wand, and the wand always has little buds on it, little leaves, right? And the pages in my deck are our inner children. And so this particular inner child of yours has the wand because it knows what its purpose is. When we're 4, 5, 6 years old, we know what we were meant to do. But if we, for example, were raised in a family where there's a big family business and we had no choice, and that's where we were meant to go. And I often wonder when you see people that are like that, we've carried on the family business, and it's like, is that what you really wanted to do when you were younger? But this is coming out here. There's like a new, there's this page is your inner child, and it needs healing because it knew what you wanted to do when you were younger, and it wasn't allowed to do that. And I'm wondering if, that's where this trauma comes in. Because let's imagine you were supposed to be a painter when you were younger. Or you're supposed to be a writer. And you were told when you were younger, oh no, you're not doing that. That's not where you're supposed to go. And often that's what happens, right? And so there's a lot of healing that needs to take place. And in particular, there's a lot of grieving. Maybe there's anger that needs to come out, because you were not allowed to do what you wanted to do. So let's get some more information on this Page of Wands right here. What in particular? Give me some more information. All right, so you have the Queen of Wands again in reverse, and then you have the Two of Swords. And so here's the Queen of Wands again. And I'm going to say, because she's in reverse, and she's the one, like I said, that holds our direction. She holds that one, that creative purpose, what we're meant to do. That was taken away from you. So because she's in reverse, she can be very angry. She can also feel very hopeless. So maybe you're sitting in some depression, or some ungrounded anger that you need to ground, right? And I ground my anger by typing on a computer or writing out how I'm very angry about the fact that I had to do this, or something was taken away from me when I was younger. And then you have the Two of Swords. And the Two of Swords is a card where I think when you were younger, this individual, first of all, it's a card where this individual is very much, do you see how they're blindfolded? And they have some water behind them, and they're crossing their heart. And it's like this real stubborn individual that doesn't want to look at the fact that there's water there. And whenever there's water in a card, it talks about emotions. And so there's a real need for you right now to get into your body, to ground yourself, because there's some anger that you need to get out. There's emotions you need to get at, maybe some depression, grief that needs to start flowing. And that is what's going to set you free and to be able to do what you need to do. I'm going to leave you at the end with a video on how to ground yourself. It's very important, because we need to learn how to ground and get back into our body so you can get in touch with these emotions that need to be expressed before you can bring this to closure. All right, so let's look at, to end with, what animal, spirit animal, are we ending with? There's the buffalo spirit, and it's called The abundant universe will provide. Buffalo Spirit comes to remind you of the extraordinary potential that's available when you adopt a mindset of abundance. The ancient people of the Americas saw the buffalo as a symbol of abundance because the herds roamed far and wide and provided so many gifts: the meat, the hide, the bones. The tribes who hunted the buffalo used every bit of them, wasting nothing. So too do you have many gifts available. That's fascinating, especially when I was talking a lot about, maybe, like I said, if you've taken on a job that you didn't want to do or a career that you didn't want to do, and they're saying, well, there's other gifts that you have. Buffalo Spirit appears to let you know that you are in a powerful time to manifest your desires, but not by force, but rather by following a natural path that rises up before you. Whether it be love, money, inspiration, or support, it's all there for you to claim. And so there's something here that definitely you're wanting to claim, and I think you're going to be able to once you get in touch with those emotions and the memory around that. And that's going to give you a lot of clarity and help you move into what you need to go into, right? Because you can't stay where you are anymore. All right. Take care, Pisces, and have compassion for yourself for what you're working through right now. I know this is a very difficult journey, but it's the most important one. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.